we've had a lot of interesting stuff happen this weekend, but one of the more interesting games of the last few weeks happened in front of MacMahon today in Dallas, where the Lakers were down 27 to the Mavericks in the first half, came back and won the game in a really key win for the Lakers as they try to scramble and get some momentum, and definitely a bit of a setback to the grand designs of the new look Mavericks as well. Back-to-back Sundays here, we have really good chances in Dallas to take a look at where some of these new teams are. Today, the Lakers and Mavs, and next Sunday, Suns at the Mavericks. We'll start with this one. MacMahon, I think the stat that they showed on the broadcast was teams that had fallen down this season by 27 were 138. It was a fascinating game just for that. And then afterwards, we had quite a press conference, but with Dallas coach Jason Kidd and with Luka Doncic. Why don't you take us through the events of your afternoon and evening?
Well, J. Kidd made a point coming out of the gates to say, and I'm going to quote him accurately, we lost our rhythm in the sense of just playing the game and not worrying about the other elements. We were playing at a high level on both ends, and then we just got a little distracted with the whistle. We just got to be better with that. I don't know who might have gotten a little distracted with the whistle, but let's keep on going. And, he got back to it later. Said it's just our maturity, just understanding that what we have to do at that time. Just focus on that play. Can't get distracted with a whistle and just keep playing. Went on and on. And then J. Kidd was asked, basically, hey, as you guys are unraveling and you're blowing a 27-point lead, and especially like in the third quarter, like, bro, you only called one timeout the whole third quarter, and you guys are pretty much melting down. So I said, in a little bit more polite terms, he said, I'm not the savior here. I'm not playing. I'm watching, just like you guys. As a team, we've got to mature. We've got to grow up if we want to win a championship. There's no young team that's ever won a championship mentally or physically. The young Dallas Mavericks had...
I was going to say, is it even a young team? Is it a young team? I don't think it's a young team.
There's one guy that's young.
Their starting five today was certainly older than usual because Josh Green, who had been starting, did not. 22-year-old Josh Green came off the bench in favor of 33-year-old Justin Holiday. He started alongside Reggie Bullock, 31. Dwight Powell, I believe he's 31. Kyrie Irving, 30. And Luka Doncic, 23. So J. Kidd
in his fifth season.
In his fifth season. And like his 28th professional season. I think he's been a pro since he was in diapers over there.
And known to say a thing or two to the referees, and did a few times during today's game.
But yeah, if we're
But I didn't think it was egregious.
No,
I mean, I saw him throw his hands up a couple times.
Listen,
I thought it was pretty egregious today.
He didn't get teed up, right? He could have. Like, let's be honest, Luka could get teed up every game, probably multiple times, but he didn't. But this was definitely a bad body language game for Luka, and it was definitely I'm more worried about arguing every call and no call. He was more focused on the three guys in the gray shirts instead of the five guys in the Lakers jerseys. This was a bad game for Luka in that regard, and honestly, like, look, we all know Luka gets. He said it himself. He said, "Hey, I'm really not an angry guy outside of the basketball court. I don't know what happens to me out there. Call it competitive, call it immature, call it a combination thereof. That's a factor with him, and it's something that he's talked about before. It's something J. Kidd challenged him on last year, and for a bit he got better. This was a bad game for him in that regard, and I was surprised for a couple of reasons. One, he's been so positive and so upbeat and so excited since the Kyrie trade and it wasn't just the bad body language to the refs. There was some bad body language to teammates. He just got frustrated today. And I do think Jared Vanderbilt's physical defense, boxing out and, shoving.
Jared Vanderbilt just his energy level versus Luka's in the second half. It was wild.
Yeah, he had 17 rebounds, 8 of those offensive. And like Luka, bro, you're a good rebounder, but sometimes you got to put your big old butt on somebody and box out when he's killing you on the offensive glass. I think Vanderbilt frustrated him, and I think that led to a lot of this. Because again, Luka has been very positive, upbeat, excited lately. And yeah, he dominated the first quarter too. He was absolutely dominant in the first quarter. 14 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, doing whatever he wanted, controlling the game. And he stunk the rest of the game. The last 3 quarters today, Luka had as many turnovers as he did buckets. He was 5 of 14 from the floor after the first quarter and had 5 turnovers. And one of those was just an incredible mental blunder with the game on the line. Like, say what you want about Luka. He is a basketball genius. The guy is, nobody ever can question his basketball IQ. So for him to not understand, hey, you can step into the backcourt to take that inbounds pass that Kyrie intentionally is leading you into the backcourt and away from the defense to get. For whatever reason, he just totally brain farted.
Yeah, to update what happened there. Was it a 2-point game or
it was a 3-point game? They're coming out of timeout with 18.1 seconds left. Vanderbilt's denying him. So Kyrie throws him a bounce pass, away from Vanderbilt, again, leading him into the backcourt. All Luka has to do is step over the half-court line, catch the ball, and then, go about getting them into whatever they wanted to get into. But he tried to save the ball from going out of bounds. It's a loose ball turnover, leads
he's trying to save the ball from going into the backcourt is what he
That's what I mean, going to the backcourt. Loose ball turnover leads to free throws, and that's basically the game there. So this is twice in their 4 games together that Luka and Kyrie, with a chance to tie the game late, have failed to even get a shot up, which is just insane for 2 of the best shot creators in the NBA. The time before against the Timberwolves was a case, I think, of they were both kind of deferring, too much mutual respect. Plus, like we talked about this before, give Anthony Edwards and
McDaniels.
McDaniel. I always get Jalen and Jaden botched.
It was Jaden.
The Minnesota McDaniels. Give them credit. They disrupted the play and played great defense. This one, Vanderbilt was denying, but it was just a total mental blunder. And I think Luka he was in a
there was another possession in the last 2 minutes ish where he actually got the ball at the mid post of his back to the basket in isolation.
Yeah.
With position. And there was 5 or 6 seconds on the shot clock and he gave it up.
Yeah, and then it's hot potato, and Bullock had to fire up a Taro's boom, 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 boom. Bullock had to fire up a terrible look.
I wasn't sure if he actually got the shot off or it was a violation, but whatever Luka would have done there would have been smart. And I just kept waiting for, it was a very classic modern NBA game because it was a highly leveraged 3-point shooting. The Mavericks, when they make 13 threes in the first half.
Yeah, the Mavs made 20 threes. They were 20 of 49. The Lakers were 6 of 34. You should never lose a game where you have a 42-point advantage on 3-point shots. The Lakers, I think the Lakers missed their first 14. At one point, the Mavericks had 10 threes, and the Lakers
I think they missed their first 18. Didn't they miss their first 18?
14, 15, 16, 18, whatever.
Okay, whatever.
It was
it was a very modern game in that
they missed enough.
We see huge swings in the modern game, not 27. Mm-hmm. We see huge swings, and it's a lot of times it's based on 3-point shooting stuff. But I think it's more interesting what Kidd was talking about after the game, Bontemps, because it seems like Jason made a decided effort made a decision going into that press conference to challenge Luka and the way Luka
Jason's
behaved.
Jason's not afraid to make points in press conferences. He's been doing that since he was in Brooklyn with me 10 years ago. He's done it plenty of times. Like Tim said here, he did it with Giannis and at times Jabari Parker earlier in his career, other guys in Milwaukee. He is not afraid to say what's on his mind when he's at the microphone. It was very clear he was making a point. Mm-hmm. And listen, the Mavericks were reprehensible down the stretch in this game. Final 2 minutes of the game, after Luka took a 3 with 1:45 on the clock, the only shot him or Kyrie took until the end of the game was after a horrendous air ball by Justin Holiday in the corner that Kyrie just happened to catch under the basket and lay in because he was wide open.
Oh, you talking about that lob that Holiday had from the opposite corner just over the rim to Kyrie?
Yeah,
Nobody
I
finishes
mean,
lobs like Kyrie. It was a
no,
great.
I mean,
It was a good,
that is ridiculous. So, they just mismanaged the end of the game. You mentioned the turnover. There were multiple possessions where they got bad shots up. They came out of a timeout in those final 2 minutes and had a terrible possession where I think they had a shot clock violation on the play, or basically did. I mean, they just had mistake after mistake down the stretch. And that's on top of the fact that Luka, after the first quarter, was just completely out of sorts. All the shots were short. He was getting it. He kept being frustrated about non-calls. You mentioned the way Jared Vanderbilt played. His aggression definitely was factoring in too. But, for a Dallas team that's got to try to figure this out on the fly, that's only got a limited amount of time, maybe with Kyrie to begin with, for them to be 1-4 with these two guys on the court so far, it's not an ideal start.
1-3, but I hear you. And all three are.
Oh, right. 1-3.
All three are. They had a chance to tie it up late in the game. The first time in Sacramento, Luka took a tough step back and then admitted after, and Luka had not scored in a while. Kyrie had been cooking. He admitted, hey, that was my bad. I should have gotten the ball. We mentioned the, playing catch against Minnesota leads to a turnover. And then this one. And look, I don't want to get too caught up in still very small sample size clutch performance, because these guys both have track records of being brilliant shot creators. They've both hit a bunch of huge shots in their career. I think they'll figure that stuff out. To me, the most interesting thing was obviously them blowing the lead, and then J-Kid making a point to not by name, but certainly clearly call out Luka. And it's not the first time he's called out Luka. And honestly, I think every time it happened last year, it's I think Nelly used to say you only have so many bullets to fire in a season, right? However many it is, 5 or 6 as a coach. Every time Luke or J-Kid fired a bullet with Luka last year, it seemed to work. I mentioned there was a time where he basically said, we've got to play 5-on-5 and not worry about, complaining to the refs. And there's a time to complain to the refs, and it's not when we're supposed to be getting back on defense. And I thought that had a positive effect. The other time that really pops to mind is, I believe it was after game 2 of the conference semifinals against the Suns, and the Suns just lit Luka on fire. And Luka dominated offensively, but the Mavericks got beaten. Luka pick and roll. I mean, it was just brutal, the bullseye they put on him. And Kid had done this a few times throughout the years. Said, he's got to participate defensively, and Luka took that personally and responded well to it. Initially, Luka did not seem very enthusiastic about this particular call out. I'll say that.
Yeah. So you, after when Luka came up, you asked him about it, and he said what?
Well, and so Brad Towns with the Morning News kind of asked him generally about a loss of composure, and he basically said, he kind of downplayed it a little bit. You can say that, but we still had a big lead. Sometimes you're going to lose it. I think we just relaxed a little bit. We've got to work on that. And then I basically said, hey, J-Kid specifically mentioned, you guys got to be more mature. You've got to grow up, and you have to stop getting, quote, distracted by the whistle. And he said, that's probably true. I said, do you think you got distracted by the officiating? That's when he said, I knew you were going to be the one to ask me that question. Which I said, hey, okay, but I think it's a fair question. And he said, like I said, it's probably true. So, he certainly didn't shoot it down, but I've seen Luka. I'll say this. A lot of times the times he's most quotable is when he's being accountable. Like, there are many, many times over the course of his career where he has basically said, hey, I've got to be better. I can't, whether it's come to officiating, now it doesn't mean it always happens, but he's many times has said, you know what, I'm getting too worked up with the referees. I got to just hoop. I can't be distracted with that. Or like when he plays like crap, a lot of times he'll say, it's my bad. Even like the backcourt plays, it's like, it's my bad. He started to cuss and then he's just like, I made a mistake. This one, to be as brief as he was with it and, indicate like, dude, I don't like this line of questioning. I'm not saying it's a big deal. I'm just saying it was interesting.
Well, the Mavericks fans, I think, are a little frustrated with Justin Holiday taking Josh Green's starting spot. I was a little bit mystified by using Justin Holiday as a primary defender on LeBron a couple times. But
for most of the game, and I would ask you, like, with Dorian Finney-Smith wearing a Nets uniform, who do you recommend?
Josh Green.
Okay.
They need to play Josh Green like that. That's what they have to do. We talked about it when they made the trade. That's what they have to do,
And Josh Green really played well right after the trade. Kind of didn't play as well these last few games, but he's a 22-year-old who should be either a core player or, a major piece in your next big trade. So I agree with you. He needs to play more than 15 and a half minutes in any game.
Can't be playing him over a buyout guy or a buyout guy over him. Like you need, if the Mavs are going to get anywhere this year, which is obviously the jury's out on that for a variety of reasons, Josh Green's going to have to be very good. And Justin Holiday is not going to be good enough to get him there. You saw that today.
The other thing that people are upset about is that Dwight Powell played significantly more minutes than Christian Wood. You guys take any issue with that?
I mean, I don't think that decides the game. I think that's for Dallas Sports Radio to break down.
Look, the Mavs problem.
I think there's some direct messages that were sent about that, but I didn't get any.
Well, the Mavs problem is not going to be about scoring. It's going to be about their ability to guard people. You've talked a bunch about the impact Maxi Kleber can have on this team. We'll see if he could stay healthy. We've talked a lot about how Phoenix has a lot of guys with injury issues. Maxi's coming off this hamstring surgery. Who knows how he's going to be able to come off of that? But Dallas needs to be able to guard people outside of Luka and Kyrie. Like those guys did not play well down the stretch today. Like you said, they have a track record. You can expect them to play better in those situations. The bigger problem was at the end of the game, when it really mattered, the Lakers were getting what they wanted offensively and made plays down the stretch that Dallas didn't have answers for. And if they're going to win in the playoffs against, whether it's the Clippers or the Suns or Denver or Memphis or any of these teams, they got to be able to get stops. And, that's Dwight Powell is going to be a better option probably to get stops late in the game than Christian Wood.
Yeah,
all right, from the Lakers' perspective,
I mean, that's the problem though. They don't have good options. Like that's been the issue since they made the trade, right? Like that's when you trade your best wing defender too. It is another problem.
My position on the Mavericks is they've got great cornerstones now, and that you give them a transaction cycle or two where they can work on some supporting players.
Well,
I think
the problem is, what if they don't have a transaction cycle
exactly.
or two? That's the issue.
Kyrie and LeBron, just a big smiles, warm embrace post game. It was good to see. I mean,
well, listen,
really touching.
Regardless of whether Kyrie wants to go to the Lakers or not, the fact that it exists, that Lakers threat is valuable to him.
Oh, so he's got all the leverage in the world. Like, listen, the Mavs might have to give him a 5-year, $270 million max contract to keep him. That's just the fact. Hey, they gave KP a 5-year max deal with a freaking player option when he hadn't played in a year and a half. At least Kyrie's played.
Who knew Kyrie could ever win a showdown in terms of playing time? From the Lakers' perspective, they've won 4 or 5 now. Anthony Davis was his beast self in this 30 and 15. Huge
really,
factor
really
in the second half of this game. And the other night, Malik Beasley.
Malik, I do it all the time.
Malik Beasley is red hot and really carries him to that win. This game, he's cold. He's ice cold. But then Jared Vanderbilt has his best game as a Laker. You mentioned 17 rebounds.
Maybe his best
points.
game, period. He was
oh my God. I mean, he made so many plays that doesn't, how many times he got his hand on the ball, how many times he frustrated
he got
defenders.
4 steals. And again, I give Vanderbilt, I think Luka's angst with the refs was in large part caused by Vanderbilt's energy, physicality, probably hacking the crap out of him. But like, hey, Luka really got upset when Vanderbilt got a offensive rebound off of a missed free throw. And Luka was like, dude, he went right over him, went over my back, shoved me in the back. And then Luka.
This is where we have a Pat Riley quote when you feel a game like this, because you can complain about the officiating all you want, and you can call out plays and show the video and you can be right. But there's a momentum that happens in games where the officiating just allows it to happen. And because it's sort of kinetic energy. And Pat Riley would say about this that you have to be an active participant in your own rescue, which is a long story about how he went on a whitewater rafting trip. And that was one of the things that they said. You have to be an active participant in your own rescue. And so you can't look for the referees to bail you out. And Vanderbilt was creating that kinetic energy that allowed the Lakers to come back.
And he was creating their full court, nonstop, all the time.
Yeah. Well, and so LeBron is pushing the Lakers. Yeah. Sorry. LeBron is pushing the Lakers. And in this game tried to push them. LeBron came out with a lot of energy in the second half because he sniffed weakness in the Mavericks, I think, the way they finished the first half. And Vanderbilt rose to the occasion. LeBron's picking up 94 feet in the first possessions of the second half. Vanderbilt starts doing it. And so no matter what we said about the Lakers the whole year, these last couple of wins are an indication of how much more improved their roster is. For the ones who get it done, Grainger offers high-quality supplies and solutions for every industry, as well as access to product specialists who have the knowledge and experience to answer your toughest questions. Plus, their commitment to being your safety partner can help you keep your facilities safe and your people safer. Call or click Grainger.com or just stop by. Go ahead, Bontemps.
Well, I was just going to say, I mean, what have we talked about for the past year and a half with this team? They have no defense and no athleticism, right? Like the reason Jared Vanderbilt, he played very well today, obviously, but the reason he stood out so much was he was doing stuff the Lakers just did not have the guys to be able to do for the last year and a half. Like ever since the Russ trade, they didn't have guys like Jared Vanderbilt on their team. Like he's the kind of depth piece that you need to have to win. And look, Malik Beasley's going to have a lot of games where he goes 2 for 11 from 3. That's really sort of who he is. He's going to have some games where he hits a ton of threes. He's going to have a lot more where he misses a lot. He's a 35% volume 3-point shooter.
He's going to take 11 of them, though. And by the way, he hit a huge one that was his 10th. He was 2 of 11 from 3 and hit. It was not 1 of 9 and hit a big one on his 10th.
No question. And they have no shooting, right? Like just having a guy that can get up 11 threes is going to help them. But,
got to guard him.
Yeah, but like having a guy like Vanderbilt who has athletic, who can guard multiple positions, who brings real energy, they just haven't had guys like that. So yeah, obviously it's helped the Lakers a lot. They've picked up a couple really big wins to come out of the break, but they've still got a very big hill to climb. There's a lot of teams to jump over. They got to keep winning games. LeBron again looked like he messed up his right foot today. He's getting that worked on. Like they've got to keep doing this for another 20 games.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.